Hi, this is Rabbi Jeremy Fenster for Talmud Brilliant. Before we get into today's lesson, I'd like to just talk about something that's on many people's minds. A blockage why they don't learn Talmud or go into it is the language. Language is a big blockage, no question about it. We've all run into it at certain times. We don't understand Hebrew or can't read Hebrew. Aramaic, wow, big blockage. I explain to people like this. First of all, in our days, it's very different. We have very good translations. We have Art Scroll in English. We have things in Hebrew by Oz Vahadar that doesn't translate but explains it to us. So that's much, much less so. And even besides that, and I think more primarily, that the thinking of the Talmud, which is what the Talmud does, it's about a thinking process. It happens to be specifically a decision-making process, a type of negotiation, a proceeding, the give and take. That, I think, is primary over language fluency. Because even without it, you can put your mind, and should, and we need to put our minds into the thinking of the Talmud. And the beginning is the back and forth, the give and take. One of the goals of these videos is to be able to enable us to read the Talmud text, that document that was written for us, simply means as it was meant to be, what their intention was, before we bring on other ideas and the Rishonim and the Achronim, and just read it for what it is. There's a lot there. And one of the things, we're going to give you the skills, hopefully, to be able to master it. So in terms of that, please don't let the language be a barrier to stop you. We're all intelligent, we can think, we know how to think. All it has to be is you have to explain how it works. And that's what we hope to do. Today's lesson. I'd like to give an image of a gearbox. A gearbox that has 3 gears. And you can have maybe the most important gear really is neutral, where you're not moving. And then you have forward, and you'll have reverse. How does that work in the thinking process of the Gemara? It works like this. Every idea that's given to us, we start in the neutral position. We don't accept it, we don't reject it. We will accept it if we have a proof in its favor, a proof for. You bring me a proof for that idea, then I will accept it. Conversely, going from neutral, if you bring me a proof against the idea, against it, so then I will reject that idea. And those are really what we want to get to. We want to get to the either acceptance or the rejection. But neutral is very important. And it's not only in the beginning, we go back and forth. I can have an idea, and I can bring a proof for it, as if to move forward, but then the proof will be deflected. So then I go back to neutral. I can be neutral with the idea, and I can have a proof brought against it. But then that proof will also be answered. So I will go back to neutral. And that is the flow in terms of the journey of the idea. This is happening all the time. There's an underlying principle in the Talmud and in any decision making or negotiation. Have an idea, we move forward with it. No, okay, back. In our example that we had a couple of days ago, where we had a husband who said to his wife, let's go out for dinner tonight. And she brought a proof against that. She said, we went out a few days ago. Like, what are we doing? I'm bringing a idea against your idea. You're saying, let's go, and I'm saying, let's not. So then he came back and said, oh, yeah, but when we went out a couple of days ago, that was for meat. Now we're going to go out for fish. And that will bring, even though she pushed it back, the reason not to go. In other words, a negative against the idea of going, which was his idea. She pushed it back. He brought that idea back to neutral by resolving it and saying, oh, we're going to go out for fish. Or we can do the same thing to the other side, going up into the first gear, where he says to her, let's go out for dinner tonight, and you won't have to cook. That will be his support for his idea of let's going out for dinner tonight. She could deflect that and push it back to neutral by saying, Yeah, but you know, we have stuff in the refrigerator. We can stay home and I won't have to cook either. Let's finish up the leftovers. And that will take his support of that she won't have to cook and bring it back to neutral. Very important to understand. So here we have just a picture to help us along to get that idea. We have an idea, we'll have a support, and we'll have a deflection of that support. The support will be, you won't have to cook if we go out to dinner. The deflection will be, we have leftovers in the refrigerator. We can use those, meaning we can stay home and I won't have to cook. Well, the idea we want to have is that we see it's on the same line. In other words, this was neutral. The idea, before we got to any supports, pro or con. We had a support pro, which put it into first gear. And then it was brought back to neutral again when that support was eliminated or neutralized by the deflected. And that's a very important idea. We really had it from both sides now. We had this three-step move, both of an idea, both as a supporter of the idea and deflection. And in previous videos, we had the idea and we had a conflict and a resolution. Both the deflection and the resolution will bring the idea back to neutral. We're not ready to decide. We're not ready. It's okay not to decide, to say, I have to reserve judgment. One last thing. The language of the Talmud is extremely concise for the messages and the information and the background that they have in there, for the meaning that they want us to get out of it. So we have to remember, even though maybe we think not so, that it was not a court stenographer who sat there in the learning halls, in the Batei Midrashim, and just took down the back and forth of what was going on. That's not what happened. Rav Ashi, who was the redactor or the editor-in-chief of the Talmud, he put together a highly edited document. Our goal is to be able to read what he wrote for us and to understand it clearly. Simply, before we get into other layers. To be able to do that, it's kind of like a zip file, where so much is packed in. You need the skills to be able to, or the program, to unzip that file. That's what we want to give to you. And if you stick with us, we'll do it. There's many layers. And it has to be, since we're doing short videos, we have to be simply step by step. I hope it works. Please click the like button, subscribe, go to our website, leave us your name and your email address so we can send you more things. Be in contact with us. If there are things that you want to hear about and you want to ask questions, there's an email address, talmudbrilliant@gmail.com. Please be in contact with us. I would love it. Our goal here is to help you. Thank you for watching. Keep your mind moving.